friends! For math today, your job is to be looking at some different quadrilaterals. Your directions are to name and describe each shape. Now, some of these shapes, naming them will be pretty easy for you. For example, this one, we know the name of this shape is a square. So under name, you'll write square. The description can be a little bit trickier because we're not looking for descriptions like, it's small, it's cute. We're looking for more mathematical terms for the description. For example, you might talk about the side lengths, how many there are. Are they the same side length or are they different? You could talk about the angles. That's kind of like the corners of the shape. How many angles are there? These angles on a square are called a special type of angle. They're called right angles because they look like a perfect L or a perfect corner of a book. So for the description, you might say there are 4 right angles. You can also talk about parallel lines. Remember, parallel lines are if you extended the lines on opposite sides of the shape, they would keep going forever and ever without touching. So here we have one set of parallel lines because if you kept going forever and ever, they would never cross. Squares are pretty cool because they actually have 2 sets of parallel lines. If we extend these lines, they also would keep going forever and ever and never touch. So one description for a square, you could say 2 sets of parallel lines. Over on the next shape, we have a trapezoid. Trapezoids are like the red pattern blocks from school. To describe a trapezoid, you can talk about the side lengths. Here we have 1 long side length, 1 medium-sized side length, and 2 side lengths that are the same side. I'm wondering if you see any parallel lines on the trapezoid. Well, if I did these ones and I extended them, if they kept going forever and ever, eventually they would touch. So those are not parallel lines. However, a trapezoid does have 1 set of parallel lines if we look at these opposite side lines. Take a look. They could keep going forever and ever and never touch. So a trapezoid, one description could be that it has 1 set of parallel lines. Your next shape, I think you know the name of it. It's a rectangle. I'm going to let you do the rectangle yourself because it has a lot of the same attributes as the square. Think about the sides, the angles, if it has parallel lines as you're making the description for that one. This shape, sometimes people call a slanty rectangle, but that's not the official term. This shape is called a parallelogram, which is one of my very favorite words to say. If you want to practice, you can go ahead and say it. Parallelogram. It's pretty cool. The cool thing about a parallelogram and how it gets its name is that it has 2 sets of parallel lines. Here's 1 set, and if we change our color, you'll see the other set is over here. Any shape that has 2 sets of parallel lines is a parallelogram. So you'll see we actually have a couple of shapes here that are considered parallelograms, but that is the only name that fits for this one. Look at the sides, the angles to add more descriptions for the parallelogram. And last but not least, we have this shape. It looks kind of like a sideways square, but its official name starts with an R. Anybody know it? It's called a rhombus. And I'm going to let you do rhombus on your own. Think about it. Does it have sets of parallel lines? What are the angles? Are the side lengths the same? Those are all things you could include in your descriptions. It's okay if you have the same description for multiple shapes because a lot of these shapes have the same attributes. So don't worry if you write 2 sets of parallel lines on a bunch of them. That's an attribute that describes many of these quadrilaterals. I'd like to see you have about 2 to 3 descriptions for each shape if you can, and then you'll be all set to go. So good luck, have fun.